Welcome, everyone. It is day 2 of NRF. I want to welcome you to how Amazon and Adidas are setting new fulfillment standards for the footwear industry. No pressure to our speakers today. This is a big topic. I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Petra Schindler-Carter, and I look after the retail and consumer goods industry in AWS. The way I come in here is I get to give a little bit of context and maybe toot the horn of these two individuals who are not shy, but perhaps it's helpful to open the aperture a bit and explain how we all came to work together. So in my role at AWS, I get to work with iconic brands like Adidas, who is a proud customer of ours and a pioneer. And as part of my job, I also get to build some connections within Amazon. We have many different offerings and services that we can bring to bear to brands like Adidas. And one of those is fulfillment, which is very much our core DNA and our retail legacy, really. So you will hear today from two esteemed individuals. I'm going to introduce Aaron Cheney, who's the Senior Vice President of E-commerce at Adidas, and my colleague Peter Larson, who's the Vice President of Multi-Channel Commerce and Fulfillment at Amazon. How does AWS come in here? We've had the honor of being able to work with Adidas for a number of years on what for them really is a multi-year transformational journey towards digitization, towards leaning into something that I think all of you are experiencing, which is customers continue to demand more. They want a better customer experience. They want you to know who they are. They want a hyper-personalized experience. They want to experience an iconic brand like Adidas in the online world and the offline world in a way that gets them excited. They want a flawless delivery experience end to end. They want to get the product when they want it, when they were told they were going to get it on time. So that's a lot for leaders like Erin to think about every day. And she and her colleagues are doing so, with the help of strategic partners like ourselves. On the AWS side, Adidas has been a pioneer. So they were one of the early adopters of Bedrock. They were talking about AI long before everybody else talked about AI and agentic. And so you'll probably hear a little bit more along the way about the way, Erin and her team are thinking about leaning into experimentation, how, for example, they've done, some of the early product developments using AI in partnership with our teams and our technology. So a lot of smart choices. I hope she shares some advice with you today. Secondly, for fulfillment, you'll hear Peter talk about, how he and his team are tapping into the accumulated 30-year history of Amazon, picking, packing, shipping, and doing so for partners in a way that's respectful of their brand end to end, which I think is an exciting proposition. We want to have clear takeaways from today. And so for this audience, I want to say, when you walk out today, number one, keep in mind operational excellence. So you'll hear from Erin about how her team has worked with Peter's team on just building this data exchange and the foundational fulfillment capabilities that let them deliver on this promise. Customer experience, again, customers expect more. That's paramount. How are they using data and AI to fulfill this promise? And then lastly, just from an organizational approach, how have they set themselves up to drive and deliver on this transformation? I'll be quiet now. I'm going to ask Erin and Peter to come to the stage. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Petra. And hello to all of you. Thank you for coming. And thank you to Erin for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And I think it's your first NRF, is that correct?
This is my first NRF, which is crazy. And somehow you ended up dragging me on this stage. I don't know how you pulled that off, actually.
Well, I don't know either, but we'll only be here for 2 hours. No problem. Maybe we can just start off a little bit with, tell us about your journey, like what got you here to this stage in your e-commerce life?
Yeah, so I love that. It's funny, probably last week, someone at Adidas asked me to have a coffee chat with them, and she's a new mom. She just returned to the office about 2 months ago. And her first question out of the gate was, how did you end up here? And I'm like, wow, that's quite the question to start a coffee chat with. But it was a good one. And it was one that I appreciated because it allowed me to reflect a little bit on my journey and say, well, how did I get here? And for me, I really go back to my roots, which is my parents. And my mother is actually an artist. She's a textile artist. And my father spent almost the majority of his career working with companies like IBM and HP. And so for me, this connection, between digital commerce and brand experience is just at the heart of who I am. And I was just very fortunate to grow up in a space that combined both creativity and technology, really, at the beginning. And I'm also from Columbus, Ohio. So I don't know if anyone's from Ohio. No? Yes. Okay, a few. Thank you. But so for those of you who have never experienced Ohio, it actually is a pretty big retail hub, believe it or not. And so growing up there, if you think of some of your favorite mall brands, not to date myself, from like the 90s and early 2000s. So Structure, did you ever shop there?
I possibly had a pair of acid wash jeans.
Okay.
Structure.
Okay, that works. So Structure, Abercrombie, which is making a huge resurgence, Express, Victoria's Secret, those were all located in Columbus, Ohio. And so growing up, I was just surrounded by big box retailers. And, as like most kids, you want to make some money. Right. And my sister and I, we actually had our own little business. Most kids start out with a lemonade stand. We actually started out with a jewelry stand, and it was in front of my parents' house in the front lawn. I will tell you, Peter, though, we lived on a cul-de-sac. And so, the foot traffic was not great. So learned about that early on.
First lesson in retail.
That's right. That's right. And so, coming to Adidas, obviously sport is at the heart of what we do. But we're also really focused on our consumer and delivering upon new innovation. And so again, if I just think about the beginning for me, being at Adidas was just a natural fit as part of my journey. So yeah.
Well, it's an amazing combination of sides of your brain, and it feels like you landed up in just the right company for that.
I think so.
I'm sure it's not all smooth sailing. So tell us a little bit, what are the things keeping you up at night?
Things keeping me up at night. So I will share with you all literally what's keeping me up. I have a 1-year-old. He does not sleep well, and so he keeps me up. What also just keeps me up from a business perspective is the constantly changing demands of our consumer. They're always expecting something new. And just when you think you've nailed it, they've moved on to something else, right? And so I always use the example of my oldest son. And I can't keep up with him. One day he's like Taylor Swift's biggest fan. Now he's on Kendrick Lamar. And, I was telling Peter, I went to Japan a few months ago and I was so excited. I brought him back some Pokemon cards, right? Cause that's what he was into. And I give them to him and he's like, Mom, I'm not really into Pokemon anymore. And I'm like, what? When did this happen? And then I'll tell you 2 weeks ago, though, I heard him in conversation with his best friend. And what were they talking about? Pokemon cards. So I'm like, I can't keep up with an 8-year-old, let alone, the millions of people, that we have to service, at Adidas. So yeah, so that is definitely what keeps me up at night, because I want to make sure that we're delivering upon consumer expectations, which is ultimately what led me to you. That's what brought us together.
And we're very happy for that. So Adidas is using multi-channel fulfillment from Amazon and Buy with Prime from Amazon. And I want to talk to Aaron a little bit about what problems Adidas was looking to solve with these two products. But perhaps before we jump into that, just a very brief overview on what MCF, multi-channel fulfillment, and Buy with Prime are. And then we can get it back to the star of the show. Multi-channel fulfillment is Amazon's warehouses that we've been using for our own orders for 20, 25 years. And we basically made those warehouses available for any brand or business to use, even if the order comes from outside of Amazon. So we store, pick, pack, and ship your packages. That's a big and fast-growing business for us, which we're very happy about. And then on top of multi-channel fulfillment is Buy with Prime, which is the same thing except it's got a Prime brand. So now, as a Prime member, I can go to adidas.com. I can get free, fast Prime shipping and easy returns exactly as I do on Amazon.com. And because of that, hopefully, I like the experience more and I buy more. So with that primer, let's get back to Erin.
Yeah.
What are the things you were thinking about when we started talking?
Yeah. So, does anyone have children? Or any of you? Okay. A lot of you. So, you know, if you get to know me, you will hear me talk about my children a lot because I truly think that they are some of our greatest teachers, if you will. And so I was sharing with Peter, you know, when we first started chatting, I'm like, you are a big deal. You might not know it, but you are a big deal. And when I was growing up, the brand that stood out to me, like maybe some of you, was McDonald's. So I would be in the back seat of my parents' car. I'd see those arches and start screaming immediately. And for my son, it's Amazon. In fact, it's like a verb for him. And so he will say, I'll say to him, oh, you can't get this today or you can't get this tomorrow. And he's like, why don't you Amazon it? And I'm like, are you kidding me? So don't judge my parenting because of that. But, it's literally a verb and taking, like I said, what he has taught me and saying, okay, we have opportunity again from a business perspective. So we've been doing a lot of qualitative and quantitative research as a company. And probably a little bit over a year ago, there was a study that came out from McKinsey, and it talked about fulfillment. And it said that things that were important were, cost and accuracy. But the thing by far that people expected from fulfillment was that they would get their packages in 2 to 3 days. It's Amazon, like my son said. So they want it fast, right? And as we were trying to solve the opportunity that we had to drive increased conversion for our channel, this was just a natural thing, if you will. That's what you're known for. You're known for your quick delivery. People trust you. And so, us coming together and partnering in that space just made sense.
Well, the good news is that we're getting faster every single year. So we shipped the most same-day orders in our history last year, and we look to exceed that this year. And we've got a new experience called Prime Now that's going to get stuff to you in 15 minutes or less, and that's not even getting to the drone. So all that's...
I won't tell my son about that one.
Right. Not yet. All right, so there's a long history between Amazon and Adidas. We've been working together or trying to work together for a long time. And I'm sure there's some ups and some downs of that relationship. So talk to us a little bit about how you navigated using Amazon for such a critical part of your infrastructure internally. I'm sure it couldn't be easy. Sure.
No, that was a great question. We started working on this project a while ago, if I'm being honest. I said to Peter last night, I said, it's funny, when I first met you, your daughter was in high school and now she's in college. And when I first met you, I only had one child and now I have two. And so, that's the amount of time, if you will, that we've been working together on this project. And it's been really fun. It's been fun. And I think, for any of you in this room, anytime that you're trying to introduce something new, it's really important that you take people along on the journey with you from the beginning. And especially a big project like this, you don't want anchors, right? And Ed Stack, he actually said in the opening session, this mindset around yes, if, instead of no, because. And I think that was really, really important for us to adopt as an organization in order for this to move forward, for sure. for sure.
And we call that internally at Amazon, what has to be true. That's our
Yes, I love
yes
that.
if phrase.
I love that.
How about, was there any internal resistance to working with Amazon? How did you navigate that, if at all?
Yeah, so I would say that there was healthy skepticism, is what I would call that. Someone once said to me, if you have two leaders that are always in agreement, you don't need both, right? And I say that because, of course, you're going to have some differing opinions, and for us, again, that's why it was important for us to bring everyone to the table. And when I say this project touched almost every function in our business, it truly did. Be it analytics, we brought wholesale into the conversation, our wholesale partners. We brought supply chain, obviously, brand, marketing, our digital e-commerce team. So everyone heavily touched this project and had a say in terms of us moving this forward. And I will tell you, everyone loves results, right? And as soon as we started to see the results roll in, which were better than our initial expectations, so that helped as well. That always helps, right? When it comes to fruition.
Absolutely. Well, I know that this project worked perfectly every step of the way.
It was perfect.
No, really. Tell us about some of the hiccups we had, of which there were a few, of course. Yeah. Not all projects work perfectly.
No, you're right. You're right. Here's what I will say, though, before I tell you about the hiccups, right? I've been with the brand for 5 years, and this was probably the biggest project that we had done in the 5 years I had been there. And there were several counterparts that I had that, have been there 12, 15 years, and they said the same thing. So this was a really big undertaking for the brand. And, our first challenge was really scaling this, if you will. But what I will say about Peter and what I will say about your team, he's like, uh-oh. Is just your willingness to help. I mean, you oftentimes said to me, what do you need? What do you need? How can we help? And me feeling like you also had some skin in the game, helped to move things along for sure. But, I remember I reached out to someone on the team and I said, okay, how's it going? How's it going? And they literally sent me a video of a delivery truck, and someone was in the warehouse loading our goods up on the truck. They then hopped in the passenger seat and rode on the truck from point A to point B. And so that level of commitment, just to make sure that we actually received our goods and that this project was happening in the way that we thought it should, from end to end, was phenomenal. So I appreciate that about you.
Well, you
didn't even pay me to say that.
I didn't. And this is amazing. So thank you very much. I'll just say that it is indicative, though, of the different lens Amazon has to have in this supply chain space.
Yeah.
You're not coming to us. You're not coming to Amazon.com to sell on Amazon.com, where we've got 1 billion aggregated eyeballs and we might have a little bit more leverage.
Yep.
We're coming to you as a vendor, just like every other vendor. And we have to have the viewpoint, just like, many of you are probably vendors. And for your customers, you're like, what do you need and how fast can I do it?
Right.
We've had to shift to that at Amazon. I think it's been very healthy for us.
Yeah. I totally agree. I don't know if you all have seen this, but there's an Adidas commercial that aired probably a little less than a year ago. And it's Messi. So, the soccer great Messi. Hopefully you all know him. And Patrick Mahomes, you know him, Peter? Patrick Mahomes. So they are on a treadmill side by side, and they're running, like you and I were running side by side. And Messi is turning up the speed on Mahomes's treadmill, and then he's doing the same back at him. And then next thing you know, they're both running full force side by side. And I would say that's how this relationship has been. We've constantly challenged each other, but we've also elevated each other as a result because we're pushing each other to be better. And so, one of our challenges that came up was related to inventory and the synchronization between our inventory feeds. And so one of the things that we realized was your inventory feed was a little faster than ours. And as a result of bringing those two things together, we realized we were getting order cancellations because we weren't as fast. Our system wasn't as fast. And so that caused a great conversation for us internally to say, hey, how can we be better? For one, we need to make sure that we're delivering to the consumer expectations. But two, how can we be better even outside of this project? And so seeing that happening and the problem solving happening real time was amazing. The team actually came and sat in Portland. They had their own little room with tons of dashboards and ticker tapes up and like maybe a glass of champagne. And it was just awesome to see them come together and problem solve as soon as that first cancellation came through.
Yeah. It was fun to it was not fun to watch the cancellations.
No, that wasn't.
It was fun to watch the first orders come through for sure.
Yeah.
Similarly, Adidas of course has got many products that they turn over pretty frequently. Mm-hmm. And they taught us that our catalog functionality for multi-channel fulfillment and buy with Prime needs to be much more adaptable to high turnover inventory with bulk uploads and downloads from brands like Adidas. So thank you for making us better as well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about results a little bit.
Okay.
First, let's talk about maybe the most important thing, which are the considerations you had with regards to your brand. And working with Buy with Prime in particular, like how did those two brands work together on your properties?
Totally. And so, we have a heritage, right? And a standard that we hold ourselves up to. And that was a non-negotiable, if you will. Things like brand voice, tone, consumer experience, like those were things that could not be disrupted, right? Amazon really needed to be additive. It couldn't take away. And so that was the first thing. And, the other thing I would say to you is, my boss likes to say, this isn't an art project, right? And we got to make some money. And so, ultimately the other kind of test, was did we actually see the revenue, uplift that we expected? We have to make some money, Peter. So.
I'm with you.
You don't do
this both ways. I think it's working for both of us.
Yes.
We did deeply integrate the Prime brand into all aspects of the Adidas.com site, but I think in a way that didn't detract from what you're trying to do in the first place.
No.
Including your loyalty program, I think.
That's right. Yes. We've been really pleased with the results we've seen from a membership standpoint. Also, it's been great in terms of acquisition. I mean, if I just talk about the results in general, our OTIFs are around 90% or greater.
OTIF is?
On time in full. So those of you who are supply chain people, you know that's a key metric of success. So did you get your product when we said you would, and did you get the right product? So those are ways that we measure that. In terms of the delivery speed, about 80% of our orders that are Prime enabled arrived in 2 days or less. That's across East Coast and West Coast. So that's awesome. And then if I'd say 3 days, then it goes up to beyond 90%. So really pleased with the results. The other thing though, too, as we were looking at the full P&L, was just the savings actually that we saw from a consumer service standpoint. And it's really funny. we actually get the majority of our calls to our customer service is just people asking where their package is. And it's not because we don't have great tracking. It's not because we are constantly losing packages. It's just that people are impatient, you know?
Where's my stuff is
where
the
is my
number one
stuff?
call at Amazon.
Is it really? And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Even with 2 days. So you can imagine what we were getting. And so the fact that we were able to reduce those calls was actually a win. And then, of course, we saw the conversion uplift that we were hoping to see as a result of this partnership.
Yeah. So happy to hear that. And my understanding is that you've begun to experiment with and roll out some marketing programs as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So very, very pleased. Oh, we've got some examples too up on the screen for you all to look at. So this was some co-marketing work that we did. And the real win here was paid social, I will say. So some of the feedback that came from a qualitative standpoint is as people were experiencing Prime on adidas.com, they thought it was, they were like, is this real? What did I stumble across? Right. And so we're like, okay, we have to actually educate people and tell them that we have this partnership, not just kind of hope, that they'll understand it. And so this was the result of that. And it's been phenomenal. We've been really pleased with the results here.
Well, we are so excited to keep working with you. You got a lot going on. Easy, relaxing first month of the year, I'm sure, or what's next for you guys?
I wish. It's funny. I don't know how everyone else feels or what your experience has been, but typically we've got about a week after the holidays before we can dust the cobwebs off. And this year has been very different. So, for those of you who don't know, we're having an historical moment at the brand. And this is the first time we've got 2 teams in the college football championship game. So I don't know if there's any Hoosiers here or any folks from Miami, but, there's one in the back. Okay. One Hoosier. We are off to the races, at Adidas right now, getting ready for that championship game that happens next week. In February is a big month for us with All-Star Weekend and Super Bowl, and we're just getting started because obviously we've got World Cup this year. I don't know if you're a soccer or football fan.
We, as I was saying to you last night, my wife and I bought each other World Cup tickets to the Seattle games for our 30th wedding anniversary.
I could not believe that.
I scored.
Okay.
There's a reason we've been married for 30 years.
Okay. That's the secret. No, so that's awesome. I love that for you. And that's our event. It's a big stage for us. It's here, in North America. So between the US, Mexico, and Canada. So we're excited to host here. And we're really thinking about quite a few different things. The consumer journey. There's lots of people who are fans of soccer, but some people just want a piece of it to wear on the street. And so really thinking about the journey for those people, which are very different, also ensuring that we've got the right product for them and that we can get that product to them in a quick way, right? As games are being won, by different teams. So really, really excited about this year. It's going to be busy though, but we're ready.
Awesome. Well, we are certainly looking forward to it. We're looking forward to working with you further. Thank you so much. It's been an awesome journey.
Thank you.
To the Adidas team out there as well.
Yes.
Go to adidas.com to buy your World Cup or your college championship gear.
Thanks,
Try out
Peter.
Buy with Prime. If you have any questions about multi-channel fulfillment, Buy with Prime, or perhaps for Aaron, we'll be up in the upper left here until they kick us out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.